The 2016 Spanish Grand Prix, formerly known as the Formula One Gran Premio de España Pirelli 2016, was a Formula One motor race held on the 15th of May 2016 at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya in Montmeló, Spain. The race was the fifth round of the 2016 season, and marked the 46th running of the Spanish Grand Prix as a round of the Formula One World Championship. It was the 26th time that the race has been held at the circuit. Nico Rosberg was the defending race winner and entered the round with a 43-point lead over teammate Lewis Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship. Their team, Mercedes, held an 81-point lead over Ferrari in the Constructors Championship. Hamilton took pole position during qualifying, ahead of teammate Rosberg and Red Bull's Daniil Ricciardo. Max Verstappen won the race upon his debut for his new team Red Bull, having swapped his Toro Rosso seat with Daniil Kvyat ahead of the event. At the age of 18 years and 228 days, Verstappen became the youngest ever winner, the youngest driver to score a podium finish and the youngest ever to lead a lap of a Formula One race, breaking the previous records held by Sebastian Vettel. In the process, he also became the first Dutchman to win a Grand Prix and the first Grand Prix winner born in the 1990s. Both Mercedes drivers retired from the race following a collision with each other on the first lap, thus marking the first Mercedes double retirement since the 2011 Australian Grand Prix and the first time the team had not scored a point since the 2012 United States Grand Prix. Report. Background. The driver swap between Daniil Kvyat, pictured, and Max Verstappen was the major talking point ahead of the race. Daniil Kvyat and Max Verstappen traded places ahead of the race. Verstappen joined Red Bull Racing while Kvyat returned to Scuderia Toro Rosso. Following problems with his power unit in both the Chinese and Russian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton received a redesigned MGU-H unit, in a bid to solve the troubles which hampered him earlier. With Spain being the first race in Western Europe, and a mid-season test coming up after the race, many teams introduced their first major car updates for the Grand Prix. Mercedes ran a new front wing with a more pointy nose during first free practice. Other changes were made to the engine cover and the rear wing. McLaren made more significant changes to their MP4-31, most notably on the front wing, which Sky Sports commentator Ted Kravitz called the most intricate front wing I've ever seen. Going into the weekend, Nico Rosberg led the Drivers' Championship, having taken the maximum number of 100 points from the first 4 races. Lewis Hamilton followed in second with 57 points, while Kimi Räikkönen was third with 43 points. Daniil Ricciardo followed in fourth, ahead of Sebastian Vettel. Sole tire supplier Pirelli brought the hard, medium and soft end tires to the event, the first time this season to feature the orange hard tires. Free practice. Per the regulations for the 2016 season, 2 90-minute practice sessions were held on Friday and another 60-minute session was held before qualifying on Saturday. Mercedes topped the timesheets in the second session, now switching to the soft compound tires as well, with Nico Rosberg 2.5 tenths of a second clear of Kimi Räikkönen, while Lewis Hamilton was third fastest, more than 7 tenths off Rosberg's time. Raikkonen's running was interrupted for a while when he was called back into the pit lane to investigate a fuel system problem, but was able to get back out. Fernando Alonso was 7th fastest for McLaren, but needed a replacement of his car's plank after running wide over artificial grass surrounding the track. His teammate, Jenson Button, also experienced problems, having to stop at the end of the pit lane early in the session with an electrical issue. Renault's problem from the first session continued. Jolly and Palmer, back in his car in place of Ocon, suffered a tire failure on the start-finish straight, bringing out red flags in the process. Nico Rosberg was again fastest in the third practice session on Saturday morning, setting a time of 1:23.078 on his first timed run, a time that stood until the end of the session. Hamilton was second, 126 seconds off, followed by Sebastian Vettel just 0.02 of a second behind him. In fourth place, Max Verstappen was faster than teammate Ricciardo for the first time, who finished fifth, ahead of Raikkonen. Upon beginning his preparation laps for qualifying, Rosberg had to come back into the garage, as a sensor on his car was malfunctioning. The team was capable of repairing the damage and he went back out for the final minutes of practice. Sergio Perez was satisfied with the 8th fastest time, saying that the car had improved everywhere following the updates it had received. Qualifying consisted of 3 parts, 18, 15 and 12 minutes in length respectively, with 6 drivers eliminated from competing after each of the first 2 sessions. In Q2, it was Hamilton who came out on top, exactly 0.6 of a second ahead of Rosberg. Verstappen was third fastest, ahead of Ricciardo in fifth. Kimi Raikkonen had to abandon his first fast lap after running wide in turn 4, but later set a time good enough for fourth. Meanwhile, Sebastian Vettel recorded just one timed lap, saving a set of tires and was sixth. On his return to Toro Rosso, Kvyat was eliminated in 13th place, while teammate Sainz went through to Q3. Sergio Perez advanced as well, demoting his teammate Hülkenberg into elimination in the process, who would line up 11th on the grid. Joining him on the sidelines for Q3 were Jenson Button in 12th, with Romain Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen and Esteban Gutierrez lining up behind Kvyat. Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg were the first out in Q3. Hamilton's early sector times put him on course to a new fastest lap of the weekend, but a brake lockup at turn 10 ruined his lap and tires, handing provisional pole position to Rosberg, as the 2 Ferrari drivers struggled to find pace. Max Verstappen claimed second place for the time being, before the drivers went out for their second laps. Lewis Hamilton's second flying lap bested Rosberg's time by almost 0.3 of a second, and saw him take the 52nd pole of his career. The 2 Red Bull cars of Ricciardo and Verstappen followed, with Raikkonen and Vettel for Ferrari in 5th and 6th respectively, both more than a second behind Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas was best of the rest ahead of Sainz, Perez and Alonso. Race. At the start, Nico Rosberg got around the outside of Hamilton in turn 1, while Raikkonen lost positions due to a slow getaway. Sebastian Vettel got past Verstappen, but was immediately repassed on the approach to turn 4. At the front of the race, coming out of turn 3, Hamilton tried to retake the position from Rosberg. As the latter defended his position, Hamilton went off the track and spun and they collided at turn 4, ending the race of both Mercedes drivers. By lap 20, Sebastian Vettel was closing the gap to the 2 Red Bulls ahead of him, coming within 3 seconds of Verstappen. On lap 22, Nico Hülkenberg retired when his power unit caught fire and he had to stop on the sidelines, while Massa had fought from 18th on the grid into 10th. His teammate Bottas was lying 5th by lap 25, ahead of Sainz. On lap 28, Ricciardo was again the first of the frontrunners to pit, taking on the soft compound. Vettel came in 2 laps later, making the same choice in tires. This left Verstappen to lead Kimi Raikkonen, as it emerged that both would run on a different strategy, pitting only twice in contrast to the 3 stopping Vettel and Ricciardo. On lap 34, the gap between the 2 leaders was 2.1 seconds, before Verstappen came in on the following lap. Raikkonen responded 1 lap later, emerging behind Verstappen. On lap 39, Vettel came in for his third and final stop, while Ricciardo stayed out for another 4 laps. When he returned to the track, he was behind Vettel, but on fresher tires, while Raikkonen closed on Verstappen at the front. Fernando Alonso's home race ended on lap 47. Pulling over to the side of the track at turn 3, Raikkonen managed to get into the 1-second window to activate the drag reduction system, DRS, as Vettel was 8 seconds behind him, with Ricciardo closing on him in 4th place. By lap 57, Ricciardo was close enough to use DRS as well, but unable to pass. 3 laps later, Ricciardo made an attempt at overtaking into turn 1, but braking too late left him running wide, allowing Vettel back through, as the front-runners lapped back markers. Kvyat, after scoring the first fastest lap for himself in Toro Rosso, overtook Gutierrez for 10th place. 2 laps from finish, Ricciardo suffered a puncture and was forced to pit, but retained 4th place ahead of Bottas. Post-race. At the podium interviews, conducted by Singer Place, Cito Domingo, Verstappen expressed delight about a great race, crediting his team with giving him a good car. Kimi Räikkönen said that while he was happy for Verstappen, he was disappointed not to have won. He blamed the lack of downforce while following as the reason why he had been unable to pass Verstappen. Vettel congratulated the winner as well, but lamented that his different strategy had not worked out in his favor. During the post-race press conference, Räikkönen stressed that had anyone offered the team 2 podium positions after their poor performance in qualifying, they would have taken it happily. In the Grand Prix, Max Verstappen broke several records. Apart from being the youngest ever driver to win a race at 18 years and 228 days, he also was the youngest to stand on a Formula One podium, in both instances breaking Sebastian Vettel's record set at the 2008 Italian Grand Prix by more than 2 years. Vettel had been 21 years and 2 months at the time. Verstappen also became the youngest driver to lead at least 1 lap of a Grand Prix, again overcoming a record set by Vettel at the 2007 Japanese Grand Prix. Following their collision, Hamilton and Rosberg were summoned to the stewards after the race, but neither received a penalty, as the stewards rated their crash as a racing incident, with no driver in particular to blame. It emerged that Rosberg had chosen the wrong engine mode for the start, being down on power, which led to Hamilton going for a passing maneuver. However, Rosberg remained convinced that he had done nothing wrong, saying, "I made it very clear I wasn't going to leave any space on the inside, and I was very surprised he went for the gap." For his last lap collision with teammate Jolyon Palmer, Kevin Magnussen received a 10-second time penalty, dropping him 1 place to 15th. With 100 points from the first 4 races, Nico Rosberg remained on top of the Drivers' Championship, while Hamilton's retirement dropped him behind Räikkönen, who now trailed Rosberg by 39 points, 4 points ahead of Hamilton. Sebastian Vettel and Daniil Ricciardo were level on points with 48, while Verstappen's victory moved him into 6th on 38. Classification. Qualifying. Race. 1. Kevin Magnussen originally finished 14th but received a 10-second time penalty after the race, for causing a collision with Jolyon Palmer. Standings after the race.